I go, you know what I look like? That's what I said to him. I go, General Hospital, do you know what I look like? Yeah, we're interested in whatever. It's not going to work for you guys. Don't even go there. We laughed about it, me and my agent, and he called back. I was here with Felicia. I go, Felicia, I just got 3 episodes of this fucking General Hospital.
You're perfect.
And I never
for it.
dreamed of, and it didn't hit me till I walked down there, Felicia. Sometimes nothing hits you till you actually go down there. I had to go do paperwork. And when I told the guy I'm here for General Hospital, like, he looked at me weird, and he goes, just make it right. And when you get there, it's a fucking hospital.
Oh, yeah.
It's a fucking hospital.
Yeah.
It's a emergency room and admissions, and go down this, people walking around with white shit on, and you're like, oh my God, what did I get myself into?
That's funny, Joey.
This is something from another dimension for me. Like, I'm fucking upset about it. Like, I'm a little fired up about it. Like, last night I had the mask on, I couldn't fall asleep. So.
Do you have sleep apnea?
Fuck yeah, like a motherfucker. And I couldn't fall asleep thinking about it.
You know, I just did a sleep study for that.
What'd you think?
Well, they said I didn't have it. They said what I am is a sleep grunter, which is a completely different thing. So in my sleep I go, like I grunt in my sleep, like a crazy person.
Oh, no.
So I had to do the test. It was in like an abandoned office park. So I'm there alone with this guy who's from Detroit. And, you know, he's like, okay, so we're alone there. And he's like, now you have to sleep. Like, I can sleep in an empty office park with some rapey dude from Detroit who has, like, complete and total access to me. I couldn't fucking sleep. He's like, well, you must not be that tired if you couldn't sleep in, like, this Saw 3 rape factory. I was like, sorry, can't do it. It was scary.
It's, you know, like when I first had my sleep study, I was in really bad shape. So I would fall asleep anywhere.
Would you fall asleep driving?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
That's the worst. When you fall asleep, I would get in the car. Like, I would say, pick me up, Felicia. And before you know it, at the first fucking right turn, you'd have to push me off you. Joey, what the fuck?
Oh,
Like
really? It was that bad?
It was that bad.
Oh, my God.
And then one time, to be honest with you, I fell asleep at a light where the car was on, like brake, and I woke up to beeping, and that's how you get the machine.
Yeah.
That's how you, when you tell insurance that's when the game is done.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
look,
Oh, yeah.
I ain't fucking around. I fell asleep on the 405. Get me that fucking machine.
Yeah.
You know, like, that's what you have to tell insurance, and they'll get you there that day. Once you start falling asleep driving. But Felicia, you'd pick me up to go to Brea, like, hey, Joey, get in, boom. But Joey, I don't really know the 210. I'd be out cold. You'd be pushing me the whole way. Joey, please get up. And I'd just pass out.
It's funny because when I first went to the sleep doctor's office, everyone who was waiting to see the doctor was dead asleep in the waiting room. Everyone
Are you
except for me.
serious?
And I was like, shit, I guess I'm not that bad.
Wow.
Snoring, sitting up snoring, like in 2 seconds from sitting down.
Yeah.
It was
I can
crazy.
watch you sleep on a plane, and I know if you have sleep apnea. And let me tell you something. If I come to you and I tap you and I go, you got sleep apnea, you might get pissed at me and go, no, it's the beginning of it. I was there. I know what the beginning looks like.
The machine changed your life, though, didn't it?
Changed my life.
Yeah.
And you know what? I talk to people all the time that bitch, and, well, I did it for 6 months, and I could do it because it bothers me. I'll tell you what, man, I sleep like a fucking baby. And now I'm falling asleep without the machine. Not for long periods, but because I always thought, what the fuck if there's an earthquake and there's no power? Last week the wind went out for 4 fucking days. Nobody's got power. So I have a generator, but I also practice falling asleep without it just in case. You never know. You don't want to get too addicted to something. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I had a friend who did it and said they never realized what really sleeping was like until they got the machine. They were like, oh, so this is what people do every night. I had no idea. They said they never knew what it was like to wake up and feel okay.
You know, and I was the type of guy, like, my mother always had me on the run as a child. So people used to always tell my mom, you never taught this kid to take a nap in the afternoon. My mom was like, what nap? So that always killed me. And then I was always the guy from 13 on that you don't want to go home because you might miss something. The last thing you want to go do is go home and then come out the next day and say, Felicia, what happened? We bumped into a girl. We all got our dick sucked. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're like, fuck, I'll never go home early again. And then I got into coke.
Yeah.
And I didn't sleep for another 20 years because of the blow. Even
So
when
then
you're
you never
sleeping.
missed anything.
And all of a sudden, bam, when I'm 30, I get the sleep apnea. And it was a slow progression until people were telling me. And then a doctor woke me up in, where's Clinton from? Arkansas, like that, whatever city he's from.
Little Rock?
Little Rock. They were waiting for them to pick me up at the hotel. And some guy tapped me on the shoulder and goes, listen, I'm a doctor. You don't have to believe me, but you're a week away from dying. That's exactly how it went down, Felicia. There was no drama with me. I knew something was wrong. I just didn't know what it was.
Now, didn't the women you were sleeping with ever say anything
My
to
wife,
you?
my wife kept saying there's something fucking the matter, but I would go to bed at 11. I would take 6 Tylenol PMs,
Jesus.
8 of them, and then go into a little Tylenol coma for an hour, and then I'd wake up and I'd be awake the rest of the night on the Tylenols, which is a horrible fucking high. 8 Tylenol PMs. I'd smoke dope and do blow on top of it. But when that guy tapped me on the shoulder, it was like a surreal experience. He was like, "You're a week away from dying. I could tell from your eyes and stuff." He goes, "It's bad. You have to go immediately." And I remember getting back from the plane, and I went right down there. And I remember, like you said, falling asleep waiting for the doctor, like him waking me up in the fucking room.
Yeah.
Then when they put the mask on the first time, I fell asleep again. So.
Well, in case you people were wondering whose voice you're hearing, that is a young girl that I met. Actually, when I got back into comedy, I went and I did these classes called The Pretty Funny Women. And because I figured I got to meet young people again, I got to know what's shaking. I've been out of the business for 9 years. And Nina was one of the girls that I met, and we became friends. And I was always thinking, as last week we had George Perez on, and you said that I said, we should get George, he has a great story. I had said to you, we should also get Nina. Nina has a really interesting story, and I thought you would enjoy talking to her about it. And it's the fact that Nina comes from Philly. And
born and raised.
Nina Manni. And tell us a little bit about your personal background growing up.
Shit. Well, yeah, I grew up in Philly. My father was... My father was involved in organized crime, was in and out of prison most of my life. He was a big meth dealer. It's funny, I actually Googled him recently.
Oh, yeah?
And I don't Google your parents. It's a bad idea. But I wasn't sure if I would actually find anything, because the first time he went to jail when I was alive was in the 80s. So I wasn't sure if I would find anything. So I Googled him, and I found that when my dad was arrested when I was little, in his meth lab, they found, now mind you, this is 1980s money. They found $70 million worth of meth.
Are you shitting me?
$70 million. And I'm sitting there reading this, and I felt like really upset, that he got caught. Because here I am thinking, God, I could have been so fucking rich. Like, I was never old enough to really enjoy all the drug money we had as a kid. The most benefits I had was, when kids couldn't get a Cabbage Patch doll, I had 5. That was the big. I just wish I had been older to really enjoy that money before he went to prison.
Well, let me ask you this: how many times did he go to prison?
I know before I was born. I'm not really sure how many times he went to prison. I remember talking to my mom and asking her, "How did you meet Dad?" And she was like, well, my mother's Jewish, by the way. My father's Roman Catholic Italian. My mother is this, funny-looking Jewish lady. She had a big red afro, in the 70s, in those big, sparkly fros. And she said she met my dad at this nightclub called Artemis in Philly, which apparently was this big, famous nightclub. And she said, they dated for 3 months, and then he disappeared, and then he came back, and they were together forever. And I was like, well, Mom, where the fuck was Dad for those 3 months? Did he, meet another chick or something? She was like, oh, no. He was on trial for murder. And I was like, holy shit. Well, he must have gotten off, right? And she was like, oh, yeah. He didn't kill that guy. And I was like, oh, good to know that he killed other people, but apparently not the guy that he was, arrested and put on trial for killing. That was... of comfort to me.
Wow.
And she's completely opposite, so opposites attract.
Well, opposite in a way, but what's interesting is there was a lot of drug dealers in her family, too. Her brother, my uncle, was the biggest marijuana distributor on the East Coast. Most of the men in my family, above my generation, had been in prison, including my Jewish grandfather. Everybody had been in prison. Everybody.
Wow.
So, I come from a long line of criminals and drug addicts.
Now,
proud stock.
What's your earliest memory of him coming out of prison? Did you ever visit him?
Well, oh yeah, all the time. I remember I was visiting this fancy Quaker school. It was my first day to go visit. I was in 3rd grade, and I remember hearing banging at our front door, and then our front door got busted down, and the FBI and the DEA came in and rushed our house and handcuffed my dad, and were just swarming our house. It was crazy.
How old were you?
I was 3rd grade, so was that 8? And I didn't know what the fuck was going on. And I remember I started to cry. And I remember my mother grabbed me. I was on the stairs of, like, you know, our row home in Philly. She grabbed me. She shook me and she looked at me and she said, "You never let them see that they can hurt you. Stop crying. You never let them see that they can hurt you." And I remember that was like a serious memory for me. So I just stood there as an 8-year-old, real stoic, you know, with these people swarming my house and like trying to ask me questions. It was crazy.
Was your father, when they handcuffed him, was he aggressive towards them? Was it pretty?
Oh no, he was probably coming out of like a 2-week meth binge. So he was in that sleeping for a week phase. So he was like
grateful they came. Thank God, I'm gonna get some sleep. You know
I know, right?
Because when you know they're coming, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you're a street guy, you know they're coming.
Oh, he knew.
You always know they're coming. You just don't know when.
Yeah.
You clean up. You take the spoons out of your house. You do this and this. You always know when they're in the area lurking.
yeah.
So everything's very clean. Your phones are clean. So when they come in sometimes, you're in suspense. Because what the feds and the DEA want you to think when they park a car in front of your house is they're not parking a car in front of your house to watch you. They're parking a car in front of your house to see your reaction. Everything around your world is tapped.
Oh, yeah.
They want to see your reaction. They're going to see if you're going to call Joey Diaz first or Nina first. That's all it is. So these guys, after 3 months on your end of thinking to yourself, fuck, they're finally here. You know what I'm saying? Like, finally. They finally got here. You just sit, shut your mouth, and wait. And it's weird. Remember the first couple times they came, like how they started coaching you? Your parents would coach you. Like, sit down, don't say a word. Don't talk to them. You know, don't answer any questions. Sit on the couch, you know. Like, it's just fucking, it's a different world.
It is.
You have to raise your children a different way.
It's true. And I don't know if you were like this, but I could really, at a young age, only ever relate to the children of my father's friends because we all lived in that world. Other kids, they lived in some other world that I had no idea.
And you weren't allowed to mention that to the other kids. And that's even the heavier burden that I seen even as a child. Like, I go to my friends, my mother's friends' houses, and there were some families that the husband knew what was going on. The mother knew, but the kids didn't know. You ever have those? The kids didn't know until the doors came knocking down. And I grew up with that they didn't know, but I always knew what was going on. So I would go and watch him in action, and it would be fucking beautiful to watch that he'd be pulling it off like a regular fucking criminal, you know?
Well, you know, it's different for you because you're a boy. For the women, you know, for the girls are always very protected, you know. It's interesting because the guys would run around, you know, dealing drugs, you know, killing people, beating people up, but God forbid if you ever cursed in front of one of the women in their house, you know. It was a very sort of strange moral disconnect. You know, so the women were always very sort of shielded, whereas the boys knew more of what was going on because it wasn't a woman's place to be involved with any of that stuff. You know, you protected the women.
When your father, the first time you saw that when you were 8, at what point did you think it was possible that your father was a bad guy?
Well, this is interesting because at that age, you can't really process what an adult could have possibly done. I remember telling kids who would somehow find out because my dad was all over the news.
Papers, you're in the papers.
Everybody knew, but you know, like, so the parents would know and their kids wouldn't be allowed to come to my house.
Oh my God, yeah.
But the kids wouldn't really know. And I remember like one kid found out and asked me what my dad did to be in prison. I remember saying some bad guy took a diamond and planted it in his drawer, and the police came and found it. That's why my dad was in prison, because at that age, that was really all I could process. And I also remember as a little kid thinking, if you did something bad, you went to prison. So as a little kid, I was in constant fear that if I did something bad, I would go to prison. And when I say bad, I mean like steal the kid next to me's pencil with the Garfield eraser. You know what I mean? Like, I thought that was enough to get you thrown in prison. So I was terrified as a child. It was
How
really
old
awful.
were you when you found out the word drugs and what it meant?
I would say I was in my early teens. When kids around me like really started doing drugs, and people that knew my father really started telling me stories, and I would start to hear more of my mom's conversations on the phone with my dad when he would call, and I would hear more of what they were whispering about when we'd go to visit him in prison. Then I started putting everything together.
Now, how old were you when you came to the realization that, because you grew up in the 80s, you're a little younger than I am, a lot younger than I am, and it's weird that when you were growing up, there was more alertness about it. Like I grew up, and I told Felicia, I'd see the rings around my mother's nose. And I would make believe, like I'd just play at my G.I. Joe. Like that was just, and every once in a while I'd have the balls to say, Mom, wipe your fucking nose, you know? And she'd go, oh, I'm sorry, or something. When did you come to the realization that there would, did both your parents do drugs or just Dad?
You know, I think really just Dad. But after my father went to prison, this is when I really knew. Because my mother wants to fix people. She wants to save everybody. So as soon as my dad went to prison, she moved in her friend, and her 5-year-old kid and her friend was a big drug addict. Moved her right in to the house, you know, so we'd always have a serious druggie in our house. And she would leave around plates of cocaine, and she was always super whacked. And I think that's when I really knew. And she was my best friend. She used to take me to the pool and watch me at this local swimming pool, blitzed out of her mind. And I would drive around town with her while she would score drugs. I would have to, when she would go meet with people to get drugs, I'd be like playing with their kids in the alley behind their house.
But let's keep in mind at that age and time that was also when people were looser with it, you know? Like,
oh, yeah.
I remember going to babysit people's kids, and at the age of 12, they would give you joints and drugs, and they'd be like, it's on the table. And I just remember sitting around being petrified, like, why would they do this, you know?
It was scary. It made me feel like a degenerate, frankly. You know, it made me feel bad about myself and my family. It was kind of crazy.
It's funny because when I was about 5, we lived, before I moved to 205 West 80th, we had a stint on 89th Street. And that was when I came to the realization something wasn't right. My mom had money, you know, jewelry, the bar, you know, we ate good, everything was okay. And then one day we had this lady who lived underneath us, you know, and Abuela, we used to call her Grandma, how are you? And one morning, you know, I wake up to a bang on the door, and I open it, it's the super of the building. He goes, your mom around? He goes, tell them they're downstairs. And the next thing you know, I see my mom running into the bedroom, and she comes out with this Macy's bag, you know, and she's doing something. We had a little balcony outside, and all of a sudden she had the balcony, and she took like this fucking thing and threw it to the balcony underneath, and she came in, and right there, boom, 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 and I had a drum kit. I'll never forget, I had a drum kit in this living room. I was a kid, 5 maybe, tops. And they came, and my mother said to me in Spanish, don't say a word, just sit on the couch. And they broke us up, and they tried to ask me questions, and I had my little fucking imagination. I was an only kid. You couldn't fucking talk to me when I was 5. And I remember them leaving, and I asked her what that was, and that she threw over the balcony, and she goes, it was cash, you know, and I knew there was cash in the house. But then later on, we went to get it, and I peeked in the bag, and it was blow. And I remember going on a school trip to the police station, and I'm talking about narcotics. And me asking the guy what narcotics were, and me being shocked. Like, I was in shock, Felicia, that I understood the numbers. I could live with the numbers, and I could live with the loan sharks and all that shit, and the sports betting. But even at 5, I knew drugs wasn't fucking cool. I didn't want to be, and I remember confronting her, like, what the fuck, and shut your mouth, it's none of your business. I was holding it for a friend. Here's $20, and like anything else in life, for 20, I just turned my head, you know, and, but it's weird. Like, that was the most shocking thing about finding out what my family did.
Did you ever go through the phase where you were like, oh, I'll never do drugs. I'll never be like that?
We've had this abso-fucking-lutely. Yeah. And it was a difference for me to drink. That was one thing. My mother had a bar. Smoking pot was the next level. That was against my morals because I was an athlete. And that was really against my morals. The cocaine and anything up my nose, because I seen them putting shit up their nose, was always going to be taboo to me. And I did it. I finally broke down because I just wanted to get out of the way. And that was the beginning of my end. Once, to me, it wasn't the drugs that killed me. It was the breaking of that character. That I always thought that if I did that, I'd go over into a different realm. And I went into that realm.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it was a disgusting, filthy fucking realm of life. I can't believe my parents did it. You never did drugs.
I did.
Okay.
I did. I never super got into drugs. Like, I've done coke when I was a teenager. I loved LSD.
Right. I
like,
LSD. Yeah, it took
loved
you away.
LSD. I've always smoked pot, which was never a super big deal in my family. You know, it was, organized crime and hippies was the two things. You know,
Where's your dad today?
He's dead.
Sorry to hear that. How long now?
He died 3 years ago, but before that, he was like a vegetable for like 8 years.
Well, tell us what happened. What was the longest stint that he ever did in prison?
When I was really little, I think he was in prison, I believe like 8 or 9 years. And then he got out for a few years when I was in my late teens. It was my last year of high school. And then 2.5 years later, he went back to prison for illegal use of the telephone, which is how they get you if you don't want to rat on anybody. You know, they basically try and scare you. And then 6 months before he was supposed to get out that time, he was jogging in prison and had a brain aneurysm, fell into a coma, and then was having strokes. And then when he came out of the coma, he was blind, paralyzed, severely brain damaged. And because he was in such good physical shape, like it would have killed anybody. But because, you know, he's in prison, running, lifting weights, all that stuff, you know, his body kept him alive. And he was like that for 8 years in a nursing home before he died. It was fucking awful. My dad was a boxer. That's how he first kind of got into everything. He was approached by, I think it was the Cadillacs in Atlantic City, who wanted him to work for them because my dad was a fucking badass. Like, he could kick ass. Like, whenever I meet people who know my dad, they always tell me stories like, yeah, I was with this girl one night and the pagans were there, like 5 of them, and they were giving me a hard time, and your dad came and beat them all up by himself. Like, those are the stories I hear about my dad. Like, he was an ass kicker.
What is the worst thing you know that your father did?
The worst thing.
Not necessarily what he got caught for, but morally, in your mind.
You know, I think he may have killed people. I don't know. I know that I know he beat somebody so bad that I think the guy was left like brain damaged and handicapped, if I'm not mistaken.
Did he go away for that?
I think that was one of the things. I know there was a lawsuit against him, and there was a lien on our house and all that stuff for his entire life because he was supposed to, you know, pay this guy some sort of settlement or something. But, you know, I to this day, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I want to know everything, in all honesty, because the truth is, I loved my dad. As sick as that sounds, I was daddy's little girl. I love my dad. My dad never hit my mom. He never hit either one of us. He was always, you know, a big teddy bear and adored me, and, you know, thought I was it. And, you know, so it's very hard to sort of separate out the things he did and then, you know, him just being my dad that I loved.
What is the best memory you have of your father like? You know what I mean, that you go to?
You know, I remember when he was out of prison the second time, when I was a little older, and I had gotten a new job, and he was just so excited, and he wanted to take me shopping to buy me a new outfit. And it was just, you know, very, very sweet and very happy, and he was just, you know, so proud of me and just so desperately wanted to bond with me. It just, you know, it was sad, but it also, you know, warmed my heart, because here's a man that, you know, when he first went to prison, I was 8 years old, and he came out, and I was a fucked up teenager, and I knew what his idea of me was. So when he came out of prison, I stopped doing drugs, I stopped cutting school, all that stuff, because I wanted to be that sweet, pure girl that he remembered, because I felt so incredibly sad for him that he had missed all that. You know what I mean? So I straightened up immediately when he came out of prison the second time, because I wanted to be that for him, because I felt like, how awful. That's like the worst thing that can happen to somebody, is to be taken away and miss your kids growing up.
Oh, it's a fucking horror. But the weird thing is that you got to see the psychology of, and I'm not going to say criminal, I'm just going to say of a street guy.
Oh, yeah.
Because what people don't know, it's like you deal in shit 23.5 hours a day.
Oh, yeah.
You deal in shit. You deal with people who carry weapons. You deal with people who have no morals. Some have fucking a high level of morals, like your father. Trust me, I'm telling you, you know, you sit there sometimes, like I'm in the same boat as you, and I'm like, what if my stepdad was a serial rapist? You know, how would we feel about him then? You know what I'm saying? But those aren't the fucking cards, and that's not what happened.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was raised with my real dad was a hustler. My stepdad was a fucking street guy. My mom was no fucking saint. So it's really weird how I grew up, how my rules always bent for certain situations. My life is not, I don't judge people on a white and black situation. There's a gray area.
Yeah.
Before I judge somebody, I always think about their psyche. Where the fuck are they coming from and where they're at? You know what I'm saying? Me, you know, it's amazing that last night I was in a room full of tremendous comedians with Felicia. And I'm going to tell you right now, the most comfortable I ever felt was in a room full of thieves, because I knew where I stood. And I knew.
That's so
those guys could all suck my dick last night. I mean this in a great way, because I don't know where I stand with those guys. If 6 fucking Puerto Ricans with knives come in, I don't know what Russell Peters or what Joe Rogan, all these fucking morons are going to do. But there's an honor amongst thieves that I've always, even if somebody's kind of crooked, I've always leaned towards them in a way. I'll give them a chance more than somebody else. And then when they let me down, it's fucking, because they are pieces of shit, but there's this honor amongst thieves. And you had uncles who were probably involved in the same business. They weren't even fucking uncles, but they live and die for your father more than his own brothers would, because there's this certain fucking honor, and people understand each other.
And there's loyalty too.
And, you know, and it's even for somebody else, like you know, even women, like if I know a woman's kind of crazy, like she's a dancer and she stabs somebody or something, they got edge. So they got edge. I like a person with edge.
When you were saying that, I was thinking about my friend Jewel. When you were saying that, I was totally thinking about my friend Jewel, because I know her from when I was 19 and we were both strippers. And it's true, like when you are in any kind of group where something bad is going down, that's affecting people's souls, you know what I mean? You get that, like. That's why I'm glad you came in today for the podcast, because when we were first hanging out together and slow parts of the story comes out, and you talk a little bit about it in your act.
Yeah,
you know, it's like, wow, you recognize in other people, you didn't have, you grew up feeling tainted. In some sense, you know. Yeah.
And it's hard to be around people who don't get that. And it's funny because when people sort of hear about my background, either they condemn me, or the opposite, which I think is just as bad, they think it's really cool.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Which pisses me off just as much. It's like, you know, it is what it is, but don't be like, oh man, it's like you grew up in The Sopranos. Right. That's so cool. Because it's not. That's, you know, that's also a shitty way to put it. But, you know, I agree with Joey. If someone had a room full of, you know, law enforcement officers and a room full of criminals, I'd go in the room full of criminals. To this day, I don't want to be bothered with the cops, with anybody. I was taught from a very young age that, you know, they're not your friends.
It's really weird. Some of the dirtiest people I've hung out with have been cops.
Oh, yeah.
Some of the dirtiest people I've hung out with, and the best criminal minds I've ever ran into. And that's what make them a cop. Because, listen, it's like I tell people all the time, you know, when you have an attorney, I don't want the guy that looks like fucking John Smith with the house with the 3 kids. I want the guy that has a little edge, because he knows the other side of the fucking field. You got to know the other side of the field to take you out of that field. How am I going to go to the guy that's never even got a fucking jaywalking ticket to court? I don't need that shit. It's like even, I hate talking politics, honey, but even like the presidential debates, and I've told Felicia, I can't stand these guys because they're all trying to be a little bit so perfect. And nobody's perfect. If you come right out from the beginning, that's why I would vote for Herman Cain if I could vote. If I didn't have the felonies withstanding, I could vote. I'd vote for Herman Cain 10 times.
Oh, please.
I guess his dick sucked, Jack. You know what I'm saying? Think of all the good presidents. They were all getting their dick sucked. All of them. All the good presidents that got their dick sucked.
There's a difference, though, between getting your dick sucked and being someone who sexually harasses people.
But, you know, that's not even my issue. I'm going to tell you what my real issue with Herman Cain.
Pizza, don't you, Felicia?
No, well, it always would clog me up. But my real problem with Herman Cain is, and I think people feel this way, it's not that he's getting his dick sucked or he's throwing a move here and there. It's just that he is incapable of being smooth about it. Because let's be honest, if you're a woman and you're walking out in this world in different kinds of circles, guys do that all the time. They throw it out there. They leverage a little bit. But then when you say then there's guys that know how to tap dance around it, and it's all good, and they were smooth about it. And that's the guy you want for president. You don't want the guy that's pissing off 23 different chicks.
You're right.
Yeah,
you got
know
me
what
there.
I mean?
You got me there.
That's the crux of why people are not going to vote for fucking Herman Cain. That's why people love Bill Clinton, because Bill Clinton,
he was smooth about it.
You know, he was pretty smooth.
He just smiles.
Yeah.
We're back, bitches. Beauty and the Beast podcast, motherfuckers. Felicia
Joey
Michaels.
Diaz.
We're back.
We
with
are.
Nina Manni in the fucking house doing our thing. Let me give a shout out to our
Do
sponsors real quick before the holiday season. Hey, like I told you once, taintedvision.com. They got the neatest stuff for Christmas. If you're sick of giving ties and sick of going to Target and getting one of those fucking Target cards, go to taintedvision.com. They got a little sticker number for you this week, and write this down. BBP. I can't see without my glasses. Just press in Beauty and the Beast, and they'll give you 15% off on your orders. And it's $5 flat rate for all domestic orders. If you want to get the Joey Diaz special of the month, get the Skin and Bone Dominoes. Fucking tremendous. It'll throw grandma right off a fucking loop on Thanksgiving when you break those out. You know what I'm saying?
You mean Christmas?
Huh?
You mean Christmas?
Whatever the fucking holiday when they come over. You know what I'm talking about. Nina Manni's in the house. What's happening, Felicia Michaels? How was your weekend?
You know what? The wheels are about to go off my fucking car. You know, like I have so many things happening right now and that need my attention, and it's just fucking crazy. You ever get like that? Where you're just like, what the fuck? You know, like the day is too short and Christmas is coming, and you know, that kind of stuff.
Good. As long as you're busy and you're fucking doing your thing. That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
You don't want to be sitting around scratching your fucking little monkey all day. That's when evil thoughts go into your head.
You
know what I'm saying? You sit around fucking around all day. You're on Facebook looking at people's pictures and shit.
I was just telling a friend of ours that.
It's pretty nice sometimes when you gotta. Today I had plans to do something, and I got a call. I gotta pick some shit up. The day fucking changed. You know what? I like to scratch my fucking balls through the first day of the week without mama around. Because on Mondays I got shit to do.
I know.
Because I got the wife there all fucking weekend looking on my shoulder, so I can't really do the little things you gotta do on the fucking computer, whatever. So I had plans too, but shit happens. So you're busy,
Shit
so
does
what?
happen.
You cut on your sleep, and you get better early here or there.
But I have been doing a lot of fun things. Like I went to the Naughty Show. That was a lot of fun. I really had a great time. I photographed it and made a little video. You can
the
go see
video's
it.
awesome.
Oh, thank you. And but it was really great to see a lot of big comedians out right now. Like last night at Rogan's podcast, but Russell Peters was on that show. You know, like you don't get to see a lot of big comedians all the time, you know, that and it was really cool, you know. And the stripper was cool, and
did you get up there yourself and shake that ass just to let these motherfucking punks know what's really cracking?
These chicks, you know.
Why
like
do you let this happen? Why do you do
what?
that?
Well,
you go on, you see these amateurs shake their ass.
These girls are not amateurs.
At one point, don't you want to rip those glasses off and that fucking mommy scarf and go, let me show you some real titties and a real
Not
I would pay to see that.
You know what I'm saying?
I already did that. I financed my early 20s in doing that. Right. So, you know. No.
Your body's still good enough to do
no,
that.
It's
yeah,
you look
no,
amazing.
That ass, look at that monkey.
I
It's
know.
back.
I'm not going to be the chick that all the 20-year-old strippers are making fun of.
I heard that pussy's so good.
You know what I mean? That's the worst trick.
I heard the dentist found a cavity in that fucking pussy. It's so good. You know what I'm saying? That shit's been eating sweets like a motherfucker. Yums, leftovers.
I can't deny that.
No. So go up there and show it to his Sam Tripoli's little Armenian. He'll go back to Armenia, that motherfucker. He'll pack up and go back to Armenia and put cologne on. It's all over.
Yeah.
These
and,
little fucking
you know
amateurs.
who I saw? Chris Neff.
Okay.
Oh,
yeah,
Chris.
Yeah, you know, and Chris and I had our little
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
And
what little thing?
Where, you know, I already talked about this story. We were at this gig, and he was being, you know, I'm a cool comic dude, and I was like, what are you talking about? And then he was like, you fucking, and you know, and it was awesome though.
I love Chris. He's my secret boyfriend.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm gonna cheat on my husband with him.
Oh, but here's the deal. Then Dante emailed Chris and said, yo, and then Chris has been nothing but super kindness and a genuine, awesome person since then.
He's a sweet guy. He's got a tough facade, but he's a pussycat.
He was funny though. He was funny at the show. He played like a coke guy in the front row of the thing, and the stripper was all up on him. It was fun. Anyway, that's what I did, and I did my kid thing. Kids are tough, Joey. Kids are tough.
Oh shit! I always try to prep you. You look at me like I don't know what I'm fucking talking about.
Joey always comes over and he's like, "Oh, it's about to happen."
She's got 2 gorillas in training, and she don't fucking know. She's got 1 professional dick slinger that's gonna swing dick all over Studio City, Sherman Oaks, and fucking cities close by. Felicia, you know how some moms drive their kids to sporting events? She's gonna drive this guy to sling dick.
No, I'm
Like
not.
when he's 16,
I am
like-
not. You're
like,
the worst. I
it's the
hear my ex-husband calling the lawyer right now.
He's such a good-looking
please
little. She's
stop
got two
yourself.
good-looking
yeah.
little boys.
Please stop yourself.
But she's got another one that's gonna go to fucking Notre Dame. I'm not gonna stop till he goes to Notre Dame. He's going to Notre Dame. You know what I'm saying? He's going to Notre Dame to
Let
be
me
a
change the subject on you for a minute.
linebacker and shit.
I'm scared to
She
have
knows.
kids. Yeah.
She knows, and I love Felicia
Yeah,
because
yeah.
you know she tries to like no, but it's all over. I see it already. I was one of those guys. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You see it when you're 12.
yeah.
You know the guys that are gonna fucking be pimps. You looking around, you're going, oh, this motherfucker's gonna be a pimp.
Well, it doesn't surprise me that Felicia would have
Yeah,
a son that would
wouldn't
end up
surprise me
being,
at all. I mean,
you know, a
that's why
serious
She
pimp.
plays it like I don't know. You get a
there's
strap
sweet.
one on.
No,
I told her a year ago,
no.
start going to kickboxing.
So the weather's
Get your
been
shit
nice.
together.
The
Start
weather's
going to
been nice.
kickboxing because I'm telling you right now, but not like a wide kickboxing. She got to go train with like Shido Tang, like Koreans and shit. I'm telling you, I'm
You'll,
number one.
you'll
Don't
be beating
call.
the little girls off your boy.
Don't
You'll
be
come
fucking
home. They'll
calling
be
me
all
in
up
the
in the
ear going,
house.
Joey, what am I gonna do?
Yeah.
You know, she's got beautiful, healthy boys.
My
And
boys are pretty
what the
darn
fuck?
delicious.
You know, if you sit there and you make a list, like, what do you want my boys to be like? You know, it's gonna crisscross. You got two of them, not one and two girls. You got two. Not one and two girls. That's not one and a girl, not one and a cousin. That adds. You got two of them. That, you know.
I'm so thankful I have boys. I
Boys,
gotta tell you.
yeah.
Really?
All my
Yeah,
friends that have
yes.
girls, like I know this girl comic. I just did this thing up in Ventura at that club, at that festival, Randy Lewis's festival up there. And I hadn't seen her in I bet 15 years. We used to do comedy together a long time ago. And she has a 13-year-old daughter, and literally her first lines is, I want to fucking kill my 13-year-old daughter. And you know what? It's not cute. It's like, where I'm like, oh, I talk some shit, where I'm like, oh, fuck. You know what I mean?
Oh, teenage girls! I remember
so
getting
lucky.
in fist fights with my mother.
Yeah,
when I
well,
was a
which one of you's
teenager.
at 13 didn't snap? And once you got the taste of the helmet, you know what I'm saying? That's what magic. What's that? What's that song that the girl from Heart sings? He's a magic man. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
That's what that's about.
The
that
taste of
helmet
the
for
helmet.
the first
That's
time.
going to be the title of this episode.
Tasting the helmet the first time.
taste of
Moms
the
go to
helmet.
war. He's not for you, Mom. You haven't seen his dick. You know what I'm saying? But you can't say that shit. So you're like, Mom, if you listen to Heart, the second album, let that fucking set you free. But boys never have beef with their moms. Really.
Well, yeah, I think that's a difference.
Boys
Teenage
never
girls,
have
man,
beef
they're
with their
mean to their
moms.
moms.
You own it. You own it. But you also have to have a certain persona, Felicia, with your boys. So you got to be their friend, but you also got to cut that shit off right from
Oh
the
no,
top.
that's
I'll
I
break
tried
you.
to. I tried to.
What
do
did you
that.
just say
Yeah.
across that
Yeah.
table? Listen,
Yeah.
I will send this fucking dish email right to your skull. You understand me? Say that again in front of your mother. Look at me when I talk to you, little bastard. And they'll look at you and then, all right, it's all right to eat now.
Yeah.
Well, and the great thing is too, Felicia, is you know, far as like bad girl experience, you've been there,
Yeah,
done
you've
that,
been
so
there.
you can smell those girls from a mile
Oh,
away. So when
yeah.
they start sniffing around your boys, you'll be there.
You
You'll know.
Yeah, I just don't have a leg to stand on, because of my comedy and being,
You have a ton to stand on.
Yeah,
That's what
you
makes
do.
you a cooler mom.
You have
that
experience.
You know the other angle of it. That's what's so.
They
that's
can't
what-
say mom doesn't get it.
It's so
right.
weird.
No, I know, but
It's
that's
so
even
weird
worse.
when you're an
if you get it.
outsider and you're because listen, man, who the fuck are you kidding? Like I tell Felicia, when I fart, I still giggle. I fake people that I'm an adult. I'm fucking 13. I'll always be 13. I don't give a fuck. That's what this whole thing is about, but it's so weird, like when you see fucked up parenting or you think that's weird because they're not being honest with their kids or whatever. One of the best stories Felicia ever told me was that, about the Playboy, that the kid asked her, Mom, were you really in Playboy? Really? All the beautiful women in the world are in Playboy. Her fucking heart broke. You got boys.
Because I was always worried
Yeah.
about that question. Like,
No.
how are they
Really?
yeah, I was all like, the day I have to explain that, what they'll think. And
No.
Well, it's not like you were in
And
Butthole
he said-
Horse 3,
Yeah.
You were in Playboy.
Now a daughter would hold that against
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
you. You follow me?
Yeah.
But-
A daughter, it's well, that's a lot better than you did with your life, showing your tits on a magazine. But a boy, shit.
But I feel like the reason the daughter would hold it against you because she would feel threatened, like I'm not going to be as hot as mom.
Tell Joey about the journey your mother had. Your mom has a very interesting, quick story. Tell her that.
Well, when my dad went to jail when I was little, here's my mom left. They repossessed, boats, houses, took all of our money, and she was left with nothing. And a bunch of people owed my dad money, but they're not going to give it to her. They're going to wait till he gets out of prison.
Right, that's the story.
So she needed to find a way to support us. So she started a lingerie store. And now my mom is one of the foremost bra fitters. That's what she does. She touches tits for a living. Her motto is she's changing the world 2 breasts at a time. So if you ever see some crazy redheaded Jewish lady on a show fitting women for bras, that's my mom. It's kind of hilarious. And I did it with her for well over a decade.
So it brought the best out of your mom, because a lot of those ladies go crazy. That's a very hard life.
Yeah, very
Listen,
hard.
you make a decision they just started a show, Mob Wives, and it's a little too
bullshit,
fucking feigny.
yeah.
It's a little too fake. Your experiences were real. When they come, they take your dad who's out there doing whatever the fuck he's doing, because meth is one of the things. With meth comes 20,000 fucking things.
Yeah.
And once you can't rely on one thing. Chico's got this. You're financing this with the meth money. It's a party.
Yeah,
it really does become a party in your fucking head. It's great, and it's so weird. The women, what really happens to them, and some women fucking go under, and some women it brings the best out of them. Like your mom, well, she's a Jew. So nothing was going to take her the fuck down. You know what I'm saying? Hell and fury. What's that expression? Hell have no fury, like the woman scorned. They never included Jewish women in that motherfucking sentence. You know what I'm saying? That's a complete different fucking savage right there. And they put it together, man.
Oh yeah, my mom was a survivor. God bless her. She made a lot of mistakes, but at the same time, she was willing to throw it down and take some hard times to make
what
good
fucking
for her
mistakes,
family.
bro? What fucking mistakes? She hooked up with a guy. She had a child with the guy. And what do you want to do? Abandon the guy when he's in fucking jail? That's what most people today would do, because nobody's got fucking character no more. When the heat gets turned on, we want to bail on somebody in life. You know what? That person's going to come. And listen, once they give you 9 years, that's a heavy sentence. That means whatever you were doing, you were making a lot of money, you were doing a lot of. Which means when you get out of prison, after 6 months of cutting meat and sweeping and lying to yourself, because that's all you're doing, you are what the fuck you are. I don't know how the fuck I became a comedian, by the grace of God. This took me from a different realm, you know what I'm saying? Because I loved what I did. I liked fucking getting up and having a different score in my head every day. There's some people who are made for that. It's in my fucking genes. I used to see my mom get up and go, today we're going to sway the lines for people to bet 238, whatever the fuck it is, the Book of Dreams. It's just something that makes people alive. Today, and I tell people all the time, when you're a comedian, you wake up in the morning, the first thing on your mind is, what am I doing to set tonight?
Yeah.
If that's not, when I used to wake up and I was brushing my teeth and peeing with my dick in my hand, I'm thinking, who's going down today for me to get that 50 to snort the first half gram? After that, everything else is for the house. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I make 200 today, and it's really weird that a woman sticks with a guy like that. They know.
Well, my mother always said, though, she said my father was the love of her life.
Yeah, they know.
Yeah.
Regardless. And, she had a boyfriend, of course, when he was in prison and stuff. But as soon as he got out, she told that guy to hit the fucking road. My dad was home.
She probably told him in the beginning.
Oh, yeah,
listen,
she did.
here's the deal. You're
he
around.
He didn't believe it, though.
Yeah, they always.
He said, I want to marry you. You got to leave your husband. She said, no, I told you from the beginning that wasn't going to happen. So, yeah,
it's
he
funny.
was surprised. They were together 8 years.
When I double-checked your name, one of my favorite women names, if I ever was to have another daughter, it would be Nina. Because one of the biggest, my mother's, and I told Felicia about it, when I was a kid, my mom would have these parties, for all the women that their husbands were locked up, or so they would sit around and talk about this and that, and they'd try dresses on, they'd snort blow. In fact, Felicia turned it into animation.
I saw it.
But it's great. One of the women was Nina, and Nina used to be in love with this man named Tati. He was a killer. But when he would go away, she'd date the blackest dude named El Negro Marcello. That's how black this guy was. They actually called him El Negro. But he was Cuban. He was one of those dark-skinned Cubans, and he was a killer. And that's what happened. He would go in, she'd fucking, and they would show up at my house. And I'd run and go, Mommy, she's dead. He'd go, what are you going to do? That's Nina. That's Nina. And I love Nina, so I let it slide. You know what I'm saying? Because I love Tati. But Marcello used to give me hundreds, too, so I started liking him. You know the deal. Yeah, you know the deal.
When you grow up the way we did, you always know the people who will peel off a bill
a bill. That's what it's all about.
that's
If you ain't
great.
peeling off a bill,
Yep.
and when you're a kid and you know somebody's going to peel off a bill for you, even before they leave, they go, "Psst, come here, what do you got in your pocket?" "Oh, I got money," because you try to fight it off. You even know. Like, you even add them into your house. So I'm going to deliver papers this week, and if my mother brings El Negro Marcello over, he'll give me 40. Like, you already got, and if I go to the bar, I'll see Tati on Friday night. That's another 100. You can figure it into your budget.
Always.
It's fucking hysterical, so I figure it in.
When I was a teenager, my dad was out of prison. When I was a teenager, whenever me and my friends would go out, they'd all want to meet at my house because they knew that my dad was going to peel them all off.
You got to peel them off. You got to peel the kid. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's not something that's really done today. It's not accepted. But when I was a kid, every adult that came to the house had to peel off. When your mom went into the other room to get the purse, you got to peel off, dog. Like, come here for a second. Don't tell mom I gave you this. Yeah, don't tell mom I gave you this. A 20, a 10, a 50.
Oh, yeah. My dad had this one friend, Nick the Greek, who was a big meth addict. He's in prison now. Hi, Nick.
Hi, Nick.
We always knew as a teenager that if you let him talk to you about Satan for like 10, 15 minutes, he'd give you $100.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So you
he
took
was
the
real
beat.
wacky, but we didn't care. You got $100. So we always knew when we were short on cash, we'd be like, "Where's Nick the Greek? We're gonna listen to him talk about Satan for a little, get a little cash." It was great.
That's crazy.
Because he was always super high on meth, whacked out, having orgies, talking about Satan. He was something else.
But it was really weird because that guy, she kept dating El Negro Marcello, and then Tati would come out of jail. And I guess Tati got wind of it. And right before my mother died, Tati shot El Negro Marcello in a fucking bar. Shot him dead in Harlem. And that's when the crime they were looking for him for. When my mom was kind of harboring him before she died. Nobody wanted him around their houses. My stepdad left because my mom was so close with Tati. She's like, "What am I going to do? He shot somebody, so I'm going to shut him off? Fuck you, motherfuckers. I've known him since we were kids in Cuba." He was supposed to be my godfather, the guy that stands over me, but he was in jail. So a different guy had to stand over me and shit. So it's amazing when you grow up in that circle. And I accepted it. I never repeated it to another kid what my family did. Never. It wasn't even allowed to repeat. Nothing. I don't know what they do. Nobody. I never even talked about my mom doing blow till about 10 years ago. I was too embarrassed.
Yeah, I didn't talk about it for a long time.
Never. You don't mention what goes on in your fucking house. As a matter of fact, I didn't even like kids coming over because of that shit. As I got older, kids would come over, but I had to know them for a while. Nobody was allowed in my fucking house.
Oh, yeah, nobody was allowed in my house.
No. There's too much money in the house. Don't let nobody in this fucking house.
Well, we used to have trash cans full of money.
No money, and if nobody comes to your fucking house to play,
and there was always drugs around.
You want to go over there, you go over there.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody's allowed in your fucking house.
Plus, nobody let their kids come over.
Yeah, no. After you make the papers,
my dad was
your
like,
life changes.
By the way, I grew up that way in a sense of once your mom tries to kill herself and the ambulance comes up, nobody
fucking
gets
comes
to
over.
come over.
Then you live in the crazy house, right?
Yeah, you're the crazy. Let me ask you this: do you think your father came around through prison of understanding what he did was morally wrong? Did he ever have a reckoning like that? Did he ever have a process like that? I know that sounds stupid, but
I'll be honest, I don't think so. I really don't think so. I think his whole thing was, I love my kids, I love my wife, I tried to provide for them the best that I could. And I think he was just part of a different world where, his thing was he never ratted on anybody. So he was a good guy. And people always came up to me and said, "Your father's a good guy because he never ratted." A lot of people, would turn and rat on people. And that was my father's thing. I've never ratted on anybody. I've taken the knocks for the things that I've done. I've done my time. I paid my dues. But I've never heard him say what I did was wrong or anything like that. And at the same time, I'm fine with that. I've forgiven my dad.
I don't know your father. I don't know him at all. I just know the stories you told me, whatever. But 9 years in a jail cell is a long time. You think about something, guys.
Yeah.
And you think about how different your life could have been, and you think about your kids, and you accept it because it's in front of you. People like that accept their fate. Where other people don't, they have to go to a psychiatrist and see this and just accept it for what the fuck it is and move on with it.
Yeah.
And most of those people, I haven't seen my daughter in 10 years. This is the same thing. In my mind, this is a prison when you don't see your children. It's a prison. And the things that go through your mind as the persona that have to hold up to be, but in my mind, you always have regrets.
Yeah.
You know, when I was 28 and I was sitting in that fucking cell, I had a regret. You know what I'm saying? I didn't have kids then. I had a regret, you know, of what your life could have been or whatever. I'm sure before he went into the coma and before he ran, you know, an aneurysm, that's a lot on your mind.
Oh,
And
yeah.
he loved you. He didn't abandon you guys. You
No.
know, and I'm here to tell you the other side
Yeah.
of how a guy thinks because I'm around those people. But, you know, it's really weird what people think in life. And sometimes just because you're in jail doesn't mean your parents stop loving you. They just made a
No,
mistake,
and I never
man.
felt that way.
No, and that's great that
My
a lot of
brother-
people
my brother felt
that's
that
a
way.
different story.
My brother
Yeah,
felt
yeah.
that way.
Now, there's
It
people
was
who-
hard for. It was really hard for my brother.
I have a friend who 35 years I've been talking to him on the phone. What do we got, 7 days a week? I talk to him on the phone 9 days a week. And everything I know about his father, I found out from a mutual friend of mine that was married to his sister. And all his pain, when I talked to him and I asked him how his father is, I could tell it. And I found out that his father went to jail. He didn't talk to the father. For years, he wouldn't talk to the father. The father was a wheeler fucking dealer. Great guy. I knew him. You know, I used to go to the house and eat. And then somebody came to me and they're like, you know whose house you go to eat all the time, right? That guy's a killer. Well, if he is, he's 5'6" and 160. Wow, who's he going to kill? Yeah, that guy was a fucking killer. And to this day, the son has never even said a boo to me about my dad. And I think in a way he thinks I've heard stuff, but I would never hold it against it. I still love him no matter what, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's very weird. Some kids are completely fucking turned off to the idea to it.
Well, I think it's different because, you know, he lost, you know, a father figure. He lost, you know, really having a man around in his life. And I think he didn't know how to be a man or to grow up to be a man, or felt like he had a great example. And I think it was a lot harder for him. I don't think he was able to separate what my dad did from who he was. Like, what he did was who he was. You know what I mean?
Right,
Whereas
right.
I don't necessarily believe that's true about people. So it was very different for me.
Well, Nina, thank you so much for coming on. I'm so glad we finally got the opportunity to have you here and for you to
thank
share your
you.
story. And we would love to have you back anytime. Thank you so
Anytime. I had a
very,
lot of
very
fun.
much.
It was great to get to connect with you,
That's
Joey.
right.
And, you know, Felicia, I love you.
Sexy motherfucking Felicia Michael.
I know, right?
What do you got
Nina
planned
too.
this
Look at
week, you
Nina.
filthy animal?
I'm going to go with you tomorrow for your thing.
Okay.
And I'm just gearing, up and down for Christmas stuff, you know.
Okay.
I'm doing that fucking, I'm being a mom right now for the next 3 weeks.
Good. We need you to do this. You're a good mom, Felicia. Great
Oh.
fucking mom.
Yeah,
But
you
you're going to
are.
have your hands full, bitch. Take that kickboxing class.
Watch that
A
dick
good
finger.
one. Privates and shit. Where they make you run with fucking barrels on and
By
stuff.
the way, if you would like to email us, you can email us at beautyandthebeastpodcast@gmail.com.
A lot of great emails lately. Also, leave your comments on iTunes for us to help us with our podcast. We're getting some great numbers lately, and all because of you guys. Myself and Felicia, we love you to death. Also, a shout out to our sponsors, TaintedVisionsArts.com. Go over there and get 15% off. They got some really neat stuff, guys. I'm about to get some stuff before the holiday crush. Also, NoHo Dispensary, 4850 Lancashire. Go over there and tell them Beauty and the Beast sent you. They'll give you a t-shirt or some shit they have. And also for the weed selection of the week, go over and see my man over at Divine Wellness and get the great white.
Okay.
Stay black, bitches. Have a great week. I love you, Nina. Thank you very
love
much.
you. Thank you.
Felicia, you're looking better than ever. You know what I'm
You
saying?
too, my man.
Sexy
You
motherfucker.
too.